Fran,
Hello, Paul.
thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here.
How have you enjoyed IdeasFest? It's your inaugural one, isn't it?
It is my first IdeasFest. I've been meaning to come for several years, and for whatever reason, usually kids have missed it. It's great. The rain doesn't matter. There's amazing people and really great and interesting conversations happening. So
there's some top people here as well. Like, I think the caliber of speakers has just gone straight to the top. We've even got Strictly Come Dancing stars here and things like this.
And singers and, all sorts of interesting people.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm walking through the field and I see Kerry Katona and then AJ Pritchard and then Natasha Hamilton. It's weird.
It's very good. Very cool.
It's like walking in the 90s. But tell me about you, Fran. What did you do? How have you got to where you are now? Tell me about Goal 17 and the businesses that you're working on now and how you got to this point.
So, I guess I've always been entrepreneurial at heart. Always ran my own businesses. I ran quite a large network marketing business for a long time around my kids. That's kind of what I could do as I was working, as I was having my children. Quite young by today's standard. I was 27 when I had my first kids, which by today's standard is a little bit of a teenage pregnancy.
I was 27 too.
Yeah. So
I didn't have the child, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So kind of did that around the kids and then really wanted to do my own thing. And at the time I was doing some freelance consulting, working for different organizations that were interested in mentoring. And at one point I hired somebody to come work with me as a sort of freelance employee. And it was this young girl and she was just amazing. She was old beyond her years. She was only sort of in her early 20s, but really impressive. And I remember as working with her, I thought, gosh, she's super interesting. And at the end of the training session that we were delivering together, she came over to me and she said, would you mentor me? And I thought, what an honor and privilege. And I was really intrigued by her. So I said, yeah, of course I'll mentor you. And through that mentoring relationship, as we built up trust, she started to tell me more about her life. And she told me that she was a care leaver. And if I'm honest, at the time, I didn't really know what that meant. I knew she'd been in the care system and she'd left it, but I didn't really know what that meant. And the more that I mentored her and the more that I found out about the challenges that she'd faced, way beyond what any other young person should have to challenge, the more angry I got. And I was like, this is terrible. Somebody's got to do something about this. So initially I thought, well, let's go campaign. Let's, let people know how challenging it is for these young people. And in my view, how unfortunately society lets them down. And then realized there were some amazing people doing amazing campaigning, care experience people that were doing that. So I thought, well, I can't help with that. But what I can help possibly is help other people, other young people in the way that I've helped her, because I saw her change and her career develop and her personal life move forward over the years. And so decided that actually the most valuable use of my time was helping others, other white middle class people like me, help some of these young people, but also then help themselves understand about what was going on in their societies and their communities. And that was how Goal 17 was born. It was of this idea of you can take two people from completely different sides of society and put them together in something that's very sacred called a mentoring relationship, where they come together, they build up some trust, they get to know each other and learn about each other's lives and inevitably end up helping each other. Naturally, it's more like the mentor helps the mentee, but always it works the other way around as well. And that was really how Goal 17 started about 7 or 8 years ago.
And the name Goal 17, just explain that, because I think I know what it is. But others might not. So
it's a nod to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The 17th goal is partnerships and collaborations.
Right.
And whilst the interpretation of that in terms of the goals can be taken in many different ways, what I loved about it was it symbolised the fact that we're bringing people together, we're working in partnership. So both in terms of the individuals that we bring together, but as the business has grown and evolved, we've partnered with all sorts of other organisations. We've partnered with the trusts and foundations connected to Premier League football clubs. We've partnered with local authorities, the Mayor of London, Department for Education, and a big part of what Goal 17 does is create these relationships and partnerships where we bring lots of different people together to really create meaningful change. So that's where the name came from.
And you'll have to excuse the sort of curtness of this question, but how is a business like that? How do you monetize that?
So a couple of ways. So firstly, one of the ways that we realised quite early on, which would be good to monetize this, is my very early career before having children was in the construction sector. And the construction sector under huge, as one of many sectors, but in the early days, were under a huge amount of pressure to do something good in the communities where they were operating. So if you're a big construction company and you win the contract to build a big, motorway through a village, you're expected to also then go and do something. And whilst they might have the best intentions in the world, they don't necessarily have the expertise and experience to deliver those programs. So one of the ways that we've monetized what we do is actually by selling the programs that we deliver into organizations like that have some form of social responsibility that they need to discharge, for one. It's not a very nice word, but you understand my meaning on that. But they need to fulfill is probably a better word. Yeah. But then also the beauty of that is, rather than just saying this isn't just a tick in the box that you're going to sponsor this, we want your people to come and volunteer as the mentors, because that way they start to shift their perspectives and understand how they could maybe employ some of these young people. And they learn. And a lot of the time when they're moving into an area, they do need to find young people to employ. So it's kind of a win-win on so many different levels. So early on, that was how we monetized it and really got our momentum going. As we developed, the effectiveness of our model was seen by lots of local authorities, and now we work for a lot of government organisations, local authorities, delivering programmes directly for them. And so a lot of the work that we do with care leavers is for local authorities, because although every local authority, when I speak to all the amazing people that work there under very difficult circumstances with tight budgets, they really, really want to do the best that they can for these young people, but it's tough. And if they fund us to then go and identify volunteers, vet, train and match those volunteers and support those volunteers working with some of these young people, it's much more cost effective for them. It means we can do the great work that we do, and ultimately society benefits because you get this added layer of support across everybody.
And my mum worked in care for a long time, and I mean it was care amongst the elderly, but also down into like people with disabilities and things like that. But she found so often that she was then being hired privately by these younger carers, and I mean young, I'm saying young as in like in their 40s and 50s, people who shouldn't really be at that stage of their life where they're, horrible circumstance and things like that. And it just stalls life. It stalls ambition. It stalls creativity. Your whole life is on hold. And as much as it makes me upset actually thinking about it, because it's like you have all these grand plans and it's not the other person's fault. But your life, you only have one. And it's stalled, and there's nothing better than giving and being caring, but you still deserve some success and some happiness. And it sounds like you were facilitating that a little bit. Yeah,
to an extent. And I think we're trying to shift that perspective of not what's wrong with you, but what's happened to you. And all of us have a story. It doesn't matter what background you come from. All of us have got a story underneath the layers anyway. But for some of the young people we're working with, that story is maybe much more traumatic than the average story. And that will often result itself in behaviours that you wouldn't expect to see in other parts of society. But that doesn't mean that young person is any less worthy. And one of the things that I found with these young people is actually they are some of the most resilient and incredible young people you will ever meet, but they just need somebody to give a damn. And as soon as you have a volunteer that says, and it's key for us that they are volunteers, because that for our young people is game changing, because it is the first adult in that young person's life who's there not because they're paid to be there. That doesn't mean that the people that are there that are paid to be there don't care or are not as good. It's a psychological difference. This person doesn't have to be here, yet they're choosing to be here for me. And that makes a big difference. There's also this thing that they're not part of the system, which again is really important to the young people. They're so used to meeting someone that's already read their whole case file and knows everything about them. Suddenly they've got someone in front of them who's not judging them for their past, is saying, who are you now and how can I help you move forward? And that's really empowering.
I love that. I think that's really, really important. And we had a guest on earlier this morning, seems like an age away, but a guest on this morning who was basically saying a lot of the younger generation, and I guess it would be relevant for the care sector as well, or young carers and care leavers, and they just need to know someone cares.
Yeah.
They need to know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
Someone's out there who's looking out for them.
Yeah.
And, even, having some, and a lot of it is because they don't have access to those adults.
Yeah.
Because they've had to care for the adults that might have once been a role model. And
And if you think about the questions that you asked when you were younger of the people around you, the kind of questions that our mentors get asked is things like, I'm going on a date, what do I wear?
Course,
or I want to cook a roast chicken, how long do I put it in the oven for? Now, all of these things you could Google, you could find the answer to them, but that's not the same as somebody going, oh, okay, wear this, but are you feeling a bit nervous? Don't overdo the aftershave. Somebody that can bring that human element, which is so valuable.
The other thing in that as well, and I'm speaking as a father with a young child who will eventually be of age where he will ask those questions. And a daughter as well, although she might go to her mother for those kind of questions, I don't know, but it's the imparting of knowledge and wanting to impart that knowledge, and that's kind of part of like passing the baton a little bit, and they've not really had that experience of passing the baton.
And I think it's not just the passing of the knowledge, it's the showing you care.
Yeah.
And it's that I'm not alone in this. Like if I go on the date and if you tell me if you give me some advice for what to wear on the date and I go and it's a complete disaster, I can come back to you after and go, oh my God, it didn't go out so well. Or, or if it was really good, I've got somebody to come back and say, oh my God, she kissed me, or whatever it might be. And it's that, it's that human element. There's been a lot of talk here at IdeasFest today about AI and that sort of, where does that all fit? And of course it has a place to fit. And, we're developing our own tech with AI, engaged in this, but nothing is ever going to take away from that human element. You can have AI tell you what you're supposed to do or how you're supposed to feel, but it's really different when it's another human that looks you in the eye and says, oh no, I've been there and I messed up as well, or actually just go for it.
That's the human condition though, isn't it? Like that's part of who we are as a group think, as a collective. Like we feed off ambition and experience and stories, and even though the stories might not match up completely, like as you tell them over time, but like that's what we live for, right? It's like all those kind of things. And then so you also have another business, don't you?
Yeah. So Wowment. as a spin-off of Goal 17, one of our biggest challenges that we had was around safeguarding, right? Because we obviously want to connect these young people who often are vulnerable with volunteers who, whilst we do very, very thorough vetting and interviewing processes with all of them, fundamentally there's a risk there, and it was one of the challenges that we always faced. And we looked across the industry at what other people did. And, they gave people different mobile phones. They only allowed them to communicate when there was an intermediary, and loads of other great ideas. But the problem was that there was always something that then made that communication not fluid.
Yeah.
So we actually decided to develop our own app because we thought, wouldn't it be great if you could connect them both in an app and then they could communicate without exchanging contact details, and that could be monitored. We thought it was a brilliant idea. Everyone we told thought it was a brilliant idea. We built the app and everyone started using it thinking it was brilliant. And then very quickly we saw everybody stop using it, usually after a couple of days. And we looked in what was happening, and they were all saying, oh, look, rather than logging into this app each time, shall we chat on WhatsApp? And we're pulling our hair out because we're going, guys, if you go on WhatsApp, we can't protect you. Please don't go on WhatsApp. Please stay in the app. And then if they did stay in the app, it just dwindled away. So got to a point where we were sort of thinking, what do we do? And I kind of had this idea, and I said, why don't we, rather than fight this, why don't we meet people where we're at? If they want to go on WhatsApp, how do we do this on WhatsApp? And long story short, we're now patent pending on an incredible piece of technology that enables us to connect two people on third-party platforms like WhatsApp without ever exchanging their contact details.
That's amazing.
So it allows us now to in an environment that is completely familiar for everyone, because it is just a normal WhatsApp chat. There's no one else in there. It's just you and your mentor in a chat together. It's not even a group. It's just like a normal chat that they can chat away. And every time they chat, although it's completely normal to them, there's a little bit of AI doing some processing that is checking if there's anything untoward. So anything in there that's maybe not appropriate, anything on there, maybe some sentiment, maybe we can detect that somebody's getting a little bit distressed.
You're self-moderating then, basically. basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they can have complete confidence that nobody's big brother watching them, but that it's also completely safe for both sides, for the mentor and the mentee. And that for us has been game changing. We've seen that piece of technology mean twice as many young people get involved in our programs. And there's been a 300% increase in engagement just from that
Wow.
one piece of technology being implemented.
But that is a really good lesson, and this is kind of like what this podcast is about. It's like, it's not just about revenue and profits and mastering like growth in terms of fiscal. That's a growth in terms of like a business step forward, because you got, rather than looking at it as going, well, the app doesn't work because they're going off site and we can't compete with WhatsApp.
Yeah.
It's like, and you said it, how do we meet them where they're at?
Yeah.
That's how you master business growth, is like, you pivot, you sidestep, you go, okay, well, what's happening here? Like, it's a problem to be solved. And I think that's amazing.
And stopping trying to change human behavior
Yeah.
and actually going, let's just meet humans where they're at and go from there. So yeah, it really has, it's so wonderful to see people using it so freely. And we're having both mentors and mentees, both the adults and the young people, saying to us, this is amazing. Sometimes they say to us, I don't think it's working, because it's so easy. They think surely they think they've actually been connected directly, and we're like, no, it's fine. That isn't a direct connection. That is through the system. So it is truly wonderful seeing them do that. The other thing that's really interesting about it from a marketing point of view is based on the back of that technology, we only launched it early part of this year. We've already had 11,500 conversations on the platform since we launched it. But also between us, and then we're now offering it out to other organisations. Collectively, we've won over £2 million of funding, because funders can now suddenly go, well, this is safe. I'll fund this because it's safe. I can have complete confidence in it. But also, we can actually now measure it. And whilst I'm not a big fan of completely measuring human interactions, mentoring is one of those things that I think we intrinsically know it's good, but it's really hard to know if it's happening.
Yeah.
And because it's happening and it's measuring every interaction, every meeting, we're able to pull some anonymized but really important data to say, for example, 11,500 conversations, or, we know, for example, on one of our recent programs that the mentors messaged the young people 1.4 times compared to the messages they got back. So you start to find out that, and we can also use the AI to give us anonymized data around the themes of the conversations.
Yes, yeah.
And so that's also super interesting. So being able to now go and talk to people and say, look, we know this program's really worked, but we can actually start to evidence to you that they're really working. That's been mega.
More, it sounds like you're measuring sentiment rather than, individual like metrics and stuff. Like, this is how many conversations, this is how generally happy people were in those conversations. And which I think is actually quite, as much as I love data, I love measuring stuff, I love improving stuff. Sometimes you just want to take a step back and just go, what's the big picture here? And so I appreciate that.
And I think for us as well, I think that what it has unlocked is that big picture of, often we thought of mentoring was these one-to-one meetings. It was, you sit down, you have a coffee, you sit face to face to each other, you chat to each other. What the step back that we've taken looking at the data has suddenly gone, hold on a second, majority of the mentoring is happening in what we're calling micro connections, in those little interactions in between the meetings, that actually that's where the progress happens. Yes, the meetings are great, but it's all those little, hey, how you doing today? Or did you see that on TV last night? Or whatever it might be. It probably wouldn't be on TV. Did you see that on TikTok? Would be more realistic talking to our young people. But it's those little conversations, that's where the real change happens, not in the intense meetings.
I think the big theme out of this is like, well, what I'm hearing is like, you've got the AI enablement, but it's still human-centric. Yeah. And it's, I see what you're doing, and I hear what you're doing and who it's for. But when we're looking at like where we are now in 2025 with the advent of AI and and the growing advent of AI, it's still human-centric. Completely.
I think it has to be. And
again, isn't it ironic? That we are moving more towards that. I certainly believe we are. You look at festivals like this.
Yeah, super interesting, Paul, isn't it? Because I feel like we're all slightly rejecting the digital side, but many of us are using that AI to create that human connection even
help out.
deeper and better. And if I think about what it does for my team at Goal 17, if they've got that data from Wowment, they know that there's an interaction, they can be more human-centric because they're not spending their time phoning around going, have you met each other? Instead, they're phoning around going, oh, I can see you've had a couple of meetings. How did it go? Talk to me. Tell me more. You know, it's more... we're enabling the humanness rather than getting in the way of it. So I think when we use AI as the enabler, that's when the magic happens, in my view.
Love it. Fran, that went really quickly. If someone wanted to contact you and get involved, and if there's any initiatives out there that want to find out what you're doing and get involved as well, how can they find you?
So best way is to find me on LinkedIn, Francesca Salussolia. I'm sure you'll spell that because it's a harder name to spell.
Yeah, you're going to have to spell that out for me.
Salussolia. So
Nice.
Anyone wants to find me on LinkedIn. We're always open to people that want to volunteer. So if you've got it in your heart to give a bit of time every month to support a young person, please reach out to us. We have all sorts of interesting projects all across the UK. But we're also really open on how other people want to use this technology. We know what we've developed with this is something super exciting and super powerful. And every day I've got different people coming up to me saying, I think we could use it in this user case. If you think that's something, reach out to me. We kind of want to give this to the world and make sure that as many people can get their hands on it if it helps other people. If it's value aligned, we're there.
Amazing. Fran, you're amazing, actually.
As are you,
and
Paul.
Been a big admirer of yours for a while. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the festival. And best
Thanks,
of luck with
Paul.
everything.
Really lovely speaking to you. Lovely
Cheers.
seeing you as well.
Yes.